be referred by your physician. Now where did that leave me? My family doctor wouldn't even talk about hemp medicine.
Big-time controversy brewing in a small town over this. Is it a cure-all or contraband?
Now, here's somebody dying from cancer, they're not dying anymore. Here's somebody that had something else, well, they're cured. And this is what's doing it.
But in a small Nova Scotia town, one man is trying to get the word out about what he says are the healing properties of hemp oil. But as Ross Lord explains, where he's spreading the word has created a major headache with no cure in sight.
In McCann, Nova Scotia, this oil is gaining a reputation as a miracle drug.
That's the cure right there.
Oil extracted from marijuana plants. Rick Simpson has been making it and giving it to friends and neighbors. He calls it hemp oil. Others know it as weed oil. In small doses, he says, it makes you well without getting you high.
Hemp oil containing THC has been touted as an effective treatment for many diseases, including cancer. But distributing THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, is illegal. And that has some Nova Scotia users worried their supply of medicinal hemp oil will disappear. Global's Ray Bradshaw has the story.
I'm used to it.
Hemp oil is being used by some people in the McCann area of Nova Scotia to help in the treatment of cancer. Now they're worried their hemp oil will be taken away.
People are being very scared of the RCMP coming in their home and taking their medicine from them. And the whole community itself is living in fear down here, including my family.
That's because the hemp oil Rick Simpson is making contains THC, an illegal substance. He says there's medical proof that THC kills cancer cells. Rick Dwyer says Simpson's hemp oil cured his father's cancer and other diseases.
It took the fluid off his lungs. It repaired the prostate. It did so many things for him. He doesn't even take his insulin now for his diabetes because it controls his diabetes.
Amherst RCMP told us they won't likely track down people who use hemp oil for medicinal purposes. But the RCMP say it is illegal to provide people with hemp oil containing THC, whether or not the supplier is paid.
Simpson grew marijuana on his property and made hemp oil from it. This fall, RCMP confiscated the plants, but didn't arrest or charge him.
They took it here, so what's to stop them from going house to house?
Simpson says without marijuana to make hemp oil, he's been unable to supply people. He's hoping the attitude toward the drug will soon turn around.
People are dying for no damn reason. I'd like to see the most medicinal plant in the world just get the recognition it deserves.
For Global News in McCann, this is Ray Bradshaw reporting.
I met a girl at the McCann Legion who said this guy, Rick Simpson, had cured her of cancer. So I asked the girl if I could meet him. And so she told him, and Mr. Simpson came to the Legion. At the time, he told me he had discovered that he could cure skin cancer and diabetic ulcers with a medicinal oil called hemp oil. And I took this man as sincere. Besides that, he told me his father was a veteran, and I felt an obligation to check his story out as a veteran's child, so he took me with him, and I investigated it as I should have. And he took me to these people, and sure enough, these people were all saying that he had cured them up. He brought forward the evidence and the proof, and our executive and president and all of us had agreed that we have to do something. I mean, people are dying needlessly and suffering needlessly. So we held a meeting, and we discussed that we would put it in the paper, which the president and the treasurer signed the letter, and we put it in the paper asking for an honest and open review of this medicine. And we started writing letters to provincial command, as well as we sent a tape. I spoke to the president of provincial command 3 times, telling them to please come up and you know, at least come up and look at this and direct us here. And so that they refused to actually address the issue. And as our members and executive members, I mean, people were dying all around us and people didn't know. And so we decided we had to do something in that. And so that's when we proceeded to take the direction we did, and that direction was to call in these politicians, our health professionals, and our enforcement professionals, and all the people who should have been contacted over this issue. And when we did, we wrote them a letter, and we stated to come to this meeting. We would show you the evidence, the human evidence, scientific evidence, and the medical evidence. And that's when they come in and shut our Royal Canadian Legion down. What was really shocking was how they did it.
There's a battle brewing between a tiny Legion branch in northern Nova Scotia and the Legion Command.
The doors are locked here at the Royal Canadian Legion in McCann. Even past President Rick Dwyer can't get into the building. The charter has been pulled and the executive suspended because of their controversial support of the use of hemp oil as medicine.
And as Royal Canadian Legion members, for us to sit here while people were dying and suffering horribly and us knowing that this worked, I don't see where there's any honor to that.
Dwyer's view of the oil changed after his 82-year-old father started using it. He believes it has helped, even though the oil is not endorsed by the medical community. Dozens of people in McCann have been using the oil, distributed by Rick Simpson. He says the legal and medical communities are against him and his discovery.
But the Royal Canadian Legion, and if you read their books and what they're supposed to stand for, it seemed to me that this is the right organization to bring this out.
The Nova Scotia Nunavut Command of the Legion says it can't be used as a soapbox to distribute any political message, especially one involving illegal drugs. Steve Wessel says what the local branch is doing could damage the integrity and reputation of the Legion.
Basically, that's stating a policy. They're saying that the Royal Canadian Legion is in favor of this through their use of our organization, and that contravenes our general bylaw.
Legion Command will appoint a new management committee to replace the suspended executive. Rick Dwyer can't believe it.
Well, what greater integrity or honor for the Royal Canadian Legion to speak up on behalf of all the men, women, and children who are suffering.
Wessel says Legion Command is considering further disciplinary action against the executive here, but a final decision has not been made yet. Meanwhile, Dwyer says he doesn't care much about that. He's just glad he did the right thing. Dan McIntosh, CTV News, McCann.
The McCann branch of the Royal Canadian Legion was so impressed it hosted meetings like this one, aimed at spreading the word about hemp oil. But when they planned a big public meeting, higher-ups at the Legion shut them down.
The provincial command came here the day of the meeting, and they come in, they locked the doors, and then I come into the yard, and I had two RCMP officers here that told me I was not allowed on the property.
They are using the Royal Canadian Legion, its name, its insignias, and the buildings as a platform to promote the use of hemp oil as a medicinal drug.
I don't care if this medicine comes from a tomato plant, a potato plant, or a hemp plant. If the medicine's safe and helps and works, why not use it?
For Rick Dwyer, it's an emotional issue. One of the testaments to hemp oil's healing power is his father, a military veteran suffering from lung cancer.
And this last time I was in, I didn't know it, but they said I was going to die in 24 hours, but I didn't. So I took the oil, and everything worked out right.
But the Legion isn't budging. They've suspended the entire executive of this branch, along with any activities planned for the building, until they install a new management team.
There is no provincial or federal regulation which states that this marijuana can be grown and produced into hemp oil for medicinal purposes. And therefore, it's illegal as far as the province is concerned. And the Royal Canadian Legion does not back illegal operations.
Simpson has had trouble with the law. The RCMP confiscated 1,600 marijuana plants from his backyard last year. Plants he claims were grown for medicinal purposes. A court case is unresolved, and so are questions within the Legion about whether hemp oil is medicine or menace.
That goes against the general bylaws of the Royal Canadian Legion.
What I did, I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of it.
And for now, since the Legion is the town's only meeting place, getting the word out about hemp oil will prove to be more difficult. In McCann, Nova Scotia, this is Global National's Ross Lord reporting.
Because they had us under martial law, we couldn't make a decision except for the 4 management committee members who I feel betrayed all the other members. They come in, they took our freedom of speech away. We weren't we weren't allowed to talk about why they shut us down. So why were they there? I mean, when you shut a Royal Canadian Legion down, you owe the members and the executive and at least an explanation of why you shut them down. And if they shut us down over a cure for cancer, then who's doing the right thing, us or them?
Canada is in a cancer epidemic.
I had to blame somebody.
Their silence is killing us.
Part of the natural process of life.
A chemical is innocent until it's proven guilty.
It's not that simple.
When I first got diagnosed, it was the why me. You know, it's not in my family. I've tried to be healthy. I eat my veggies. I exercise a lot, and I try to live pretty clean lifestyle.
Shopping for healthy foods, eh?
Yeah. We know all those things. Those things are great, but there must be other things going on. It's not about me. It's why is it now 1 in 2 who have this stupid disease, and what are we doing about it?
Good to see you, Wendy. How are you?
Dr. Sam Epstein, he's a professor at the University of Chicago, and he's written this book called Cancergate. He's very outspoken about what we're not being told. He's a pathologist with solid science behind him.
There is now a growing and a critical demand for the role of corporate social responsibility for winning the losing cancer war. The facts are this. These are clear data showing that Canada is in a cancer epidemic. Nearly 1 in 2 men and more than 1 in 3 women are getting cancer in their lifetime.
This is what Canadians are told about prevention, the 7 steps to health.
The Canadian Cancer Society have ignored or trivialized these concerns and told the public if you get cancer, it's your own fault. You smoke too much, which is actually right, I'm not smoking. Or you drink too much, or you're obese, or you don't exercise enough. It's a lack of healthy lifestyle. It's your fault when you get cancer.
And it's not
because we have taken no action to reduce avoidable exposures to carcinogens.
Whose fault is it?
It is the fault of the Canadian cancer establishment, who have not informed the public. The consumer has to realize 2 things: that their basic rights as Canadian citizens is being denied and challenged by the government, by the cancer societies.
But they're there to save lives, the Canadian Cancer Society.
The more money you spend on cancer, the more cancer you get. And the reason why is there's been virtually no movement in the field of prevention.
So what are we spending all the money on?
Well, we're spending the money on screening, diagnosis, and treatment. In other words, damage control. You wait till they get the cancer, and then you try and treat it. As such, the more drugs are bought, the higher the profit. Now, the more disease there is, the greater the profit.
I'm in Paris because there's a huge international conference here full of some of the biggest drug companies in the world who are pitching their latest cancer treatments. And cancer is a huge business worth billions of dollars, and they get a big chunk of that. So I want to ask them what they're doing to fight the cancer epidemic. A big part of the story is about money. Obviously, there are limited amounts that Canada can spend on cancer, and at the moment, the biggest chunk of that money goes towards the drugs and the treatments. Obviously, big bucks at stake at the pharmaceutical conference. And they kept talking about, oh, there's so much stuff in the pipeline. What is your company doing to fight cancer? What are you doing to fight cancer?
It helps to feel better when you have chemotherapy.
So how's business?
Great.
How's business?
Business is right.
So how big a part of your business is cancer drugs now?
It's 80%.
You got drugs in breast cancer, drugs in colorectal cancer.
We are a cancer company, yeah. Cancer treatment company.